right, I've got 109 postcards going out on Sunday, a day early. They're technically not due until tomorrow, but we're going to talk about what I've learned listing over 100,000 postcards across 2 eBay stores. There's a lot more than there's to learn about this business, about resale, whatever. But these are 4 things that are things I've learned since going from someone who just works a lot at resale to someone who's trying to create a resale business. That sounds the same, but there is a difference, I think, and I'm going to go over what those 4 things are. So the first thing is processes need tools, and tools need processes. Oh, what does that mean? Sounds kind of like a platitude. Well, so let's say you want to do video game resale. It helps to buy a disc resurfacing machine. But if you don't have a process for refinishing your discs, resurfacing, buffing, whatever you want to call it, as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible, it doesn't really matter that much. You can have all the great cameras. You can have the best, taking photos of shirt setup in the world. But if you don't have a process for that, then you're wasting potential, right? It's going to help, but it's not going to, make it perfect. And likewise, you can have the best processes in the world, but if you're not buying the things you need to optimize those processes, like the video I posted on Friday about terrible advice from Reddit about taking boxes from Aldi or wherever, you're missing out. Your time is important. You can't have one without the other. So that was the first one I wrote down. That was the most important thing. I know it's, again, simple, but it's kind of like an aha moment when you have a great process and a great tool, and they, synergize to maximize your output. The second thing is when you are scaling up your business, you have to have a way to get rid of inventory. I'm going through that problem right now with all the stuff that I bought over the past, 10 years at this point. Things that maybe I'd buy 100 books and 25 would sell and I'd make $300, but I'd have 75 books left over. And I didn't want to get rid of them, and for a while they weren't taking donations, and just right now that's causing an issue. That's causing me to take time away from everything else I'm doing to figure out how to get rid of stuff that's worthless. And I throw it away when I can, I give it away when I can, but it's stuff that's just not worth having. So when you're going into, let's say you want to sell used electronics, figure out, is there someone who's going to buy, a scrap company is going to buy them. Figure out how often do I have to buy a dumpster, or do I have to do a monthly dumpster, or can I just do intermittent one-time pickups and throw the trash in my garage or whatever. But have a way to get rid of the stuff that's not making you money. It could be as simple as just auctioning things off. With video games, it's really easy. You can auction off video games all day on eBay and make, $1 to $3 per game revenue in your lot. So that's an example of what you would do. Scrapping silver, scrapping computers, selling things on auction. If you can redonate, but obviously you want to figure out some way to make money off of these things that is not so time and effort intensive that it has a net negative effect. And by that, I mean you're spending 20 hours to make $20. That's a exaggerated example of a bad exit of bad inventory. Let's see. You want to have a sorry, I'm reading my notes. You want to have a way that you can source things easily from anywhere, ideally just via email. If you have to go out and spend time finding stuff, that's time you could be spent doing other things that are making you money directly, whether it's working or whether it's listing more things or whatever. Buying online is a great way to do it. Having connections with suppliers in your industry is even better. If you sell clothing and you know someone who owns a rag house, that's a far superior sourcing method over going around to garage sales in terms of time spent. And the trade-off is, okay, maybe you get a lower quality inventory, but because you can systematize it, you can make more money in the long run. That's the hope, at least. And this also kind of brings up the idea that not everything is a good idea. not every business is scalable. And I think if you want to make more money and have more time and have more freedom, you do have to find scalable businesses. And so just because you found one antique fishing rod doesn't mean that it's worth your time to be scouring for antique fishing rods. When you have, at the push of a button, you can buy inventory and it gets mailed to you, that is by far the most efficient way of doing things. And fourthly, last thing, goes back to our first thing, and that's once you have these processes that utilize the tools you need, you have to document them for your own sake and for the sake of training others. The training others one is pretty self-evident. You can't have employees if they can't refer to some kind of standard operating procedure document that has all the things you do. But for your own sake, like the other day, I listed here's the anecdote. New eBay store has no limit on there for inventory as far as I'm concerned. There is a limit, but it's not one I'm ever going to hit. I went to list more postcards, and I skipped a really important step. And so luckily it was only about 5 minutes into my listing, so it was not a big deal. But if I hadn't caught it, I would have wasted an hour and a half of time of my computer processing listings and going through things and creating the final listings and uploading them, and time that, even though I'm not like making the listings manually, it still does take time for my program to do it. And so if I had written these, and I have since written down these and updated the document, what it was a new step I put in place after my last batch of like 20,000 listings. And that was like a month and a half ago. And in that month and a half, although I updated my process, I had not updated the document I have. It's just a doc on Google Drive. So it's nothing like printed and laminated or anything, but it is saved in a place that I can reference easily, and it has been updated. But just having those kinds of the structure in place, like treat your business as if it was a McDonald's or if it was any other business, where they have to have rigid procedures or at least some kind of structure for the procedures that you can reference, that someone who's filling in can reference, that you can look at and optimize. That's like the second half to this, is once you have these things written down, the gaps in process or what things can be optimized or made more efficient becomes a lot easier to see. You can say, oh, okay, well, why am I scanning postcards and then putting them in folders? How about I write a program that reads the postcard structure? I'm not going to get into the details because it's a whole different video, but why not make a program that does it for me? Because as I was initially writing out the process, I didn't think of that. That doesn't mean that I can't look back on it 6 months later and make an improvement and then standardize those improvements. If you're wondering how much this costs to ship out, I don't know, it's over 100, but there's a lot of postcards in here. $69 for 100 shipments. That's what it would be if that's what it exactly is. That's a benefit, a huge benefit. And I implore you to consider that aspect as well. All right, see you guys later. I'm going to film 4 more videos right after this, so you're going to see me in the same black shirt and Lions hat until Friday.